This is going to be taking a look at the Moonlight Blessing again, just with how like PvE and PvP has changed, where these units stand in the ML Blessing rankings. Because I think at this point that Specter Tenebria is just easily the worst one of the six. She's the absolute last unit you would go for, because she just really has no sort of meaningful usage at this point. We'll start at the top though, Arbiter Vildred. I think Arbiter Vildred is easily the best one, because as a newer player, having a DPS like Arbiter Vildred that does a little bit of everything, I would say. He does your PvE for you, like you use him to clear episode through episode 2, and then episode 3 to 5 is when mobs get tankier, but he's still like a decent option, even if he's not the best, just because he has AoEs plus his revive. So even if he gets like sniped out, he'll come back. And then also when you're doing PvP, your arena from bronze all the way to champion, Arbiter Vildred, you can quick battle a lot of teams with him. With his EE2, it's not that hard to get 40 currency for this. It gives him extra attack and evasion when he revives. Just Arbiter Vildred slamming into squishy teams gets you the champion, which is what I did on my ult. And then you get Cure for him too. You can give him Destruction crit or Speed crit early. So him just being such a catch-all DPS for your early PvE and PvP is really valuable, I think, as a newer player. And then also even in like the end game, I use him in Guild War and Arena sometimes on some of my attacks. It's pretty niche, but he does have usage at least. And then in RTA, very rarely you'll have some spots to pick him as well. So then next up after Arbiter is Ruele of Light. Ruele of Light is a healer slash reviver. She has really good burst healing on a couple of targets, but in terms of like long-term sustained healing, I think it's not fantastic. She does have a pretty short cooldown on her S2, honestly, which coupled with her revive can make her a bit annoying. But generally, I think if you're playing a newer account, you'd much rather have DPS that covers a bit of everything. But if you already got RV somehow, like you got him from your ML5 ticket, and you want to swap your Moonlight Blessing, or if you just hit Arbiter off of the daily summon, then Ruele's going to be your next best choice. She's just a nice tanky reviver for mostly PvP. You see her on defense sometimes in Guild War or Arena. In terms of offense, it's only really Guild War you use her sometimes. I don't use her at all. I don't think I've like used this Ruele in months. But you can use her in some Guild War offense comps. And then for RTA, she is picked sometimes as well. Around the same level as Arbiter, maybe a bit higher. Kind of depends how you play. And then we have everybody else in C tier. I just put them down here because I think there's like a sizable gap from Ruele to the rest. I would say MLK and Dark Corvus are actually like above Judge Kise and Specter Tenebria. Like if I had a D tier, it'd be Judge Kise and Specter Tenebria down there. But it's pretty even in how like used these guys get. We can start off with MLK. MLK, his whole thing is just well, first off, I don't have gear for MLK. He's not supposed to look like this. He should be on Destruction and Immunity. Or if you don't play RTA, then Destruction Pen. But I don't have gear for him, so he's on Lifesteal. But his whole thing is, he counters when he crits with big damage, or if you crit somebody else, he does little damage and provokes them. So even if somebody tries to not hit him, if they're critting, and they don't have immunity, he will provoke them. Or if they don't have Evres, I guess. And he'll force them to hit him eventually. So he's good into some... His thing is, he kind of shifts in and out depending on what's on meta, which is by nature going to happen due to him being a unit that counters specific things. But he counters units that like spam AoE crits or something, and then, or if they're trying to like do a combo, then he can cut in with the provoke, or just like force them to hit him. Because I know last season he was picked a lot for Eligos Veronica, and then this season you can still use him against like Veronica, or I was told that he was usable into Abyssal Euphine if it's a bruiser one, or into ML Shu because he'll hit her through stealth. So he's a pretty niche pick, but I guess if you have Arbiter and Ruele already somehow, and you still have your first Moonlight Blessing, then MLKen's probably the next best one. It's either MLKen or Dark Corvus, really. You can see which one you like more. Dark Corvus, his whole thing is he has a giant nuke on his S3, but it takes like 50 years to go off. It is a 7-turn cooldown, so he does get 2 turns on his S3, or 1 turn reduced off his S3, 2 if it's a crit. So his whole thing is he makes people hit him, and then he will like do a big giant S3 nuke. But the reason that he might be getting a lot more usage is ARAM coming out. Her S3 will give the person that she targets all of their cooldown back, plus 100% CR push. So you can open up a Guild War, ARAM S3 into him, and then just Soulburn Dark Corvus S3 and nuke something. His artifact, best in slot, is definitely going to be the Blue Rose, but Blue Rose I'm using on something else. Because it instantly gives him 10 souls, so maybe I'll just like run something else for souls, or just target something that doesn't need souls to kill. So him being able to instantly nuke might make him used a bit more in Guild War for specific teams, but it is still pretty niche usage probably, just because with the way Guild War is, a lot of ML Illinav running around blocking his pen, and just, yeah, like, it's a bit, it remains to be seen how much he will be used, but he's definitely getting a big boost with ARAM coming out. Next up is Judge Kise. Judge Kise, she is really just an arena cleave DPS. There's like no other use for her. You just build her full damage with Blue Rose, or depending on your team, you can give her Symbol, and then she will go nuke something. Her usage varies because there's certain units you can't really use her into. Like, you can't use her into Bystander Volume, you can't use her into Young Senya. And then there's a lot of cleaves or slow teams that are just better than the Judge Kise ones. I still use her into specific teams, so I still have her geared. But she's really niche usage, and she's really, really hard to gear. Like, you need high DPS gear on her for her to even work in the first place because of how tanky teams are in Arena. So that's why she's really low despite having usage. Lastly is Specter Tenebria, who used to be up here, and then over here, and now she's down here. Specter Tenebria is, let's go to her page first. She's just a PvE DPS. Her PvP usage died off like over a year ago. So at this point, her only role is to be used in PvE. And with Nightmare Cycle getting removed, she has pretty much no use now, because her only usage in the endgame was you go to Nightmare Cycle, you go into Queen, you Soulburn 4 times and kill it. That was it. There's nowhere else that she's used at all in the endgame. You could say that she's used in Abyss, but there are exactly 3 Abyss floors where Specter Tenebria can be used. We can go take a look at them right now. Let's go to Abyss. Okay, we passed over one of them. But Abyss 92, this one, because you need the DOTs for the barrier, you can just use Cures for this floor. And then 102, Celine, because the easiest way to kill her is to just use poison. You don't need to use Dene, you can just use Shuri. I think using Shuri is easier, if anything, because of the CR push. I think the hard part of 102 isn't even killing Celine, it's making sure Ross stays alive. So I'd rather just use Shuri, and you can use Shuri, or at this point you can use the dual attack comp with Camilla and Sirmia. So Specter Tenebria is replaceable on this floor too. And then lastly, people used to use her on floor 115, but floor 115 everybody just uses Commander Lorena now. She's just better at it. She's straight up better. It's not even like a side grade. So I wouldn't even say that Specter Tenebria has meaningful PvE usage at this point, because she's easily replaced in Abyss, and then Nightmare Cycle is gone, so she isn't used there at all anymore. For story, story is not hard enough for you to really care what you're using. Like, is Spectre better in story against some bosses? Sure, but you can use friend supporters, and you could just clear it anyways. You only have to clear it once. So that's why I kind of think that Spectre is the worst ML5 at this point. Like, once she's only geared because I still have to kill Queen this month. Once Queen is getting killed, I'm ungearing her completely. I'm probably going to just give her random gear to free up inventory space. In terms of hope for Specter Tenebria, her exclusive equipment is garbage. No exclusive equipments for ML5s have gotten changed yet. You're gonna have to pray that she's the first one, because this needs a lot of, like, fixing for this to be useful. And then what else is there? I mean, you could also just hope for, like, straight up buffs for her to do something. The Trial of Constellations, maybe she will be usable against the bosses there. I kind of doubt it, just because of how much of her power budget is in the Soulburn extra turn. And if we get to spam Soulburns, I'm pretty sure there's going to be better units for Soulburn spamming, unless they limit it only to Light and Dark heroes, which I don't think they've done for, like, any content yet. So that's really the only hope for this hero, but for now, she is easily the worst ML5 in the game, I think. Or not in the game, but of the 6 ML Blessing heroes, she's the worst one. Her skin is really nice, though, and also, I don't know if I would buy that $30 pack for new players, because the Molagors are nice and the skin is nice, but the hero itself is not very good, and if you invest those molas into Specter Tenebria, you have effectively wasted $30. But that is it for this video, and yeah.